What could it have possibly been about?
Some man is screaming at the top of his lungs.
The first one will lengthen these.
It might not be a good idea to lengthen them.
Well, I can't set the camera down on the tripod if it had length. That is where we worked, and they need to hear it. We all learned to project our voices. You know what none of us learned to do? Shut the fuck up. Not a single one of us.
Make room for the house.
Oh, good.
Sweet.
Yay! Give it up for Uncle Kage!
I got a horror story for you. How about that time they put convention war stories in like this tiny ass little room? Why don't we just go out in the hallway?
The hallway is smaller.
Stop trying to move every panel to the bar.
Okay, well, how about this?
We know
Get
how
that
this
wall
works.
out of the way.
Have I told you what they started to do to me at MCFC, the bar?
No.
The bar at MCFC knows me by name. Not Alkali, the other name, because I keep leaving my credit card with them. What, I'm a drunk. So, apparently, one of my little angels
Have a seat
out
up
there.
here, guys. There's room up here. Come.
Oh yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah, please come. Sit down.
Well,
Yeah.
they told them exactly what I do for these conventions, so to help me, the bar started putting a lime on my tequilas to show me what drink I was on, and have been instructed to stop serving me when they can't fit a lime around the rim. To which most of their bartenders explained to me, I smiled and walked away, but one of them I had the courage to say, you know, you can just put the lime in the glass. She went, okay. So my final drink at MCFC was a drink that I could not drink from because of all the limes, a cup filled with limes, a shot of tequila while looking at soda water. I like MCFC.
By the way, I packed up your table.
What's up?
Okay, I thought so. Uh-oh. Sorry, y'all. I heard that. Whoa, yep. No, what are you throwing things at people?
Nothing.
Awesome.
Nothing. You didn't see nothing.
Hiding, Alkali.
Shut up.
I packed up your table. That stuff is... Okay, is that stuff legal in Wisconsin?
No.
I'm telling you, dude, you're gonna get yourself in fucking trouble someday.
I'm so aware. Ladies and gentlemen, both and neither, welcome to Convention War Story! A huge thank you to my panelists, the Boozy Badger! The one, the only, the incomprehensible and incontinent Uncle Kage! My name's Alkali, and here at the table we have over 30 years of convention running experience, which sounds like a brag, but is actually a nightmare.
Wait a minute.
That's the worst way to brag ever.
That is the worst way to brag. Yeah, come on. I mean, you've got 20, I've got 10, and Boozy's got asterisk. Because Boozy runs Basement Con, a convention that they did not ask to run.
Holy shit, we made them open up more space.
We did! Go that way, guys! Next room over. Go into the next room. Grab yourself a table.
Guys, give it up for Tove! Thank you! Oh, Fluff, thank you for helping. Tove and Fluff, guys, you rock.
Oh my god, people are still coming in. Hold on, we gotta wait a minute now.
Oh my God.
It's okay, we'll just add time to the end of the
Oh,
panel.
yeah, that's true.
So this is what happened.
Oh my
So this is what happened.
Come on in,
Boozy
keep going,
decided
keep
as
going,
a
keep
joke
going.
to say, I'm going to start a con in my basement. We're going to call it Basement Con. And Bruce are like, okay.
That's actually not how it happened.
Yes, it is. Then how did it happen?
Well, let's let people get seated.
Hey, everyone, really quick, thank you so much for making this panel this popular. This is actually kind of awesome and a really nice way to do the final panel. Thank you for the support, everyone.
But we love you!
So Basement Con got started because I'm an asshole,
Yes?
and I decided to make a Twitter account called BasementCon to make fun of every other furry convention by calling it the worst convention ever. And then every time something would happen with another con, BasementCon would make some snide comment about it. Now here's the thing. Everybody assumes that I'm the person who runs the BasementCon Twitter. I am not. There are about 24 people with access to the BasementCon. People are like, when you respond to yourself on BasementCon, I'm like, I'm not. That's not an act. I'm genuinely surprised somebody fucking said that. As a matter of fact, the most common thing in the BasementCon chat is, okay, which one of you fuckers did it?
But the funny part is BasementCon became an actual event
Yep.
that takes place in this rundown murder cabin.
It's a lodge. It's a lodge.
It's the lodge.
Here's the way to describe it. People are like, when does BasementCon occur? I go, well, it occurs every year online. By the way, we were supposed to broadcast BasementCon like 4 fucking months ago. It has not yet happened. Everything has been edited, and the guy who edited it had walked up to me at this convention and said, is my work ever going to see light, or are you an idiot? So I'm going to need the dates.
Right. We'll roll some dice.
The in-person event, which does actually occur, is whenever the lodge appears out of the mists.
Yes. And there is a fire pit. The fire pit is the source of many stories, my favorite of which is a well-known furry by the name of Giza, who fancies himself an ex-Boy Scout, was attempting to build the fire one year.
Oh, he didn't attempt.
Okay, he was attempting to build the fire, and the offspring of Lawyer Man over here was sitting and watching, and Giza said something to the effect of, "Excuse me, little girl, could you get some kindling for me?" And the child shouted, "Child labor is real," and walked away.
Well, I hate that fire pit because there are 2 fire pits at BasementCon. One fire pit is a short walk through the field. It is a giant fire pit, easily the radius of these tables.
Log benches around it.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Forest blocking the view. It is a perfect fire
Open
pit.
field, nothing near it that can catch flames. That is not the fire pit we use. We
Nope.
have never once used that fire
No.
pit. That does not mean we are not having fires large enough for that fire pit.
They use the fire pit that's 6 feet away from the wooden wall of the lodge. Surrounded by wooden log benches and a large pile of wood and an empty, actually I think it's empty, 750-gallon gasoline tank.
It is not empty.
Yeah, no, there's shit in there. It's okay, there's a well nearby. It's boarded up.
There is no well, and it's not boarded up.
No, it is not. The
Let me
well
give
doesn't
you,
exist.
give you an idea of the BasementCon Lodge. The directions to the lodge from the owner of the lodge that we rent it from every year read, and I quote, "Do not put us into Google Maps, it will get you lost in the forest. You must find the old logging road and turn onto it. Continue down the old logging road until it dead ends. The lodge will be on the left." There is, at the BasementCon Lodge, no phone service, no television service, no internet service, and no cell tower coverage. If you are there, no one hears you scream.
No.
The walls are covered with murder tools. It is a Cracker Barrel of death. You look at it, you see axes, and you're like, oh, look, historic axis for decoration. And you take one off the wall, and then you go, oh, that's got an edge on it.
As
There
does
are
the
saw blades dangling from the ceiling.
Hey, why are you complaining about the saw blades dangling from the ceiling? They are made for people of at least 6'5".
Yeah. But they did have fire
Right
extinguishers.
here. Right here, thankfully against the flat of the blade.
The lodge
Wait,
is-
they had fire extinguishers?
Yes.
I don't remember
They
those.
probably do
The
not work.
historic fire extinguishers that
That's-
go back to the 1950s.
That's right, yes. They
The
do
lodge
have
is
those.
2 levels. The first level is, during the ski season, a functioning restaurant and bar with a giant fire pit inside and a TV on the wall and a couple couches spread throughout. The upper level is a collection of rooms. The lodge sleeps 100 people. The lodge has 10 rooms. The rooms all have bunk beds except for 3 of them. I get one of the rooms without a bunk bed.
We're not talking about you. It's okay.
Sorry,
Sorry,
we're having
sorry.
problems.
Yes.
Sorry.
We were just okay. I have a question to ask you when you're done talking about the murder. Weapons.
The bathrooms at the lodge every room has its own bath. Every single room has its own bath. Rather impressive. It's very obvious how they made the bathroom at the lodge. They put a toilet and a shower in a closet. Like, that's obvious. You walk in. That's what happens. You know how you figure that out? Because you have to open the door to poop. You have to put one leg in the shower and one leg out the bathroom door to poop. Alkali.
Correct. You had to do that. My tall ass had to hover above the seat. I'm there, legs as far as I can, like, alright, okay, everyone, no one listen to what's about to happen, and bring me the extra towels.
The first year that we went there, the owner of the lodge, what a weird little man, met us there, walked us through before anyone arrived. Alkali and I are getting the tour of the lodge, and he gives us the history. My great-grandfather built this lodge, and he turned it into a snowmobile resort. That did not work out. Then we opened it for cross-country skiing.
Oh, no.
That does okay. If you go out the door and turn to the right, there's a pond. Do not go in the pond. You will drown. I'm standing there and I caught it. Did you catch it? It was not you may drown.
Will.
It was you will drown. This pond has claimed some people. If you go to the left, there's a cow pasture after about a mile or so. We normally raise our beef stock in there, but we already did the slaughter this year. So it's only the dairy cows. It should be okay. Don't touch the fence. It's electric. That's a hell of a pond. Staring off in the middle, I look at Alkali, I go, do you think he touched the fence?
He definitely touched the fence. There is no doubt. Don't whiz on the electric fence.
He goes, there is a well on the property. Don't go near the well.
What well?
Oh, well.
Like, I mean, this guy, and then he's like, goodbye, and off he goes. And as he's leaving, he's like, don't eat the meat in the freezer. We open the freezer, and like, you're thinking packages of meat, right?
No.
So, full fucking carcasses dangling from hooks in the ceiling.
This is
And
like
I'm
my
just-
favorite building.
I'm going, there's murder tools on the wall and carcasses in the kitchen. We're going to die.
Welcome to Basement Con.
The first morning, I sent my children walking down the hallway to wake people up by singing, la la la.
I want to point out, after all this murder and death and horror and carnage, he brought his children.
Oh yeah, they think it's wonderful. That year one was amazing. We had so many good things go down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm standing out by the fire pit. I turn around and everybody walks out of the lodge at once, goes to a flower bed, crouches down, and they're all looking over their shoulder at me, and I go, what did you just put in the flower bed? And as one, they say, nothing. And I go, No, a group of adults just walked out, like 40 adults walked out in concert, crouched down, put something in a flower bed, and turned as one to stare at it. I'm not a dipshit. What did you just put in the flower bed? And somebody says, QM, my spouse, said not to tell you. Now, I don't have many fears. Most of my fears, I realize, are entirely irrational. And one of those irrational fears is fucking snakes. Do not like them. Cannot stand to be around them. When we go to the zoo and they go into the reptile house, I sit on the bench out front and have some Dippin' Dots. So when they said that, my reaction was, where did you find the snake? And they're quiet and go, QM said not to tell you. And I go, where did you find the snake? And one of them says, in the shower. Whose shower? QM said not to tell you.
Love basement guy.
We walked downstairs that weekend. Our guest count kept growing. Why? Because there were bees. In the lodge. We don't know where they came from. We would catch one in a cup and put it outside, walk back in, and there'd be 2 more. We had magically multiplying bees all weekend, and people who were deathly allergic to bees. So they're like, what do we do? And we're like, go sit in that corner and pray.
Run!
After all of this, for the second year, we decided it would be a good idea to find out where to get medical services, because we are, very honestly, in the middle of nowhere. Like, it is a dirt logging road. On one side of the road is New York, on the other side of the road is Pennsylvania, and there is no one for miles. We had a staff meeting prior to Basement Con last year, and Alkali said, Boozy, you were going to find out where the nearest hospital is. We never heard back from you. Are you going to look that up? And I said, oh, no, I looked it up. He said, well, why haven't you told us how to get to it? I said, because it's not going to fucking matter. It is so far away that if something happens, they'll be dead before we get there. There's a veterinary clinic up the road. We may be able to wake up Doc Smith and ask him to help.
He'll staunch the blood and neuter you at the same time.
And I would like to remind you right now that this is a performance. Boozy is saying it in an order that is funny and fun. That's not how the meeting went. The meeting went, we figured out where the hospital is, and they go, I found a vet. We had that reaction too. Then they were silent, and Sue went, oh.
How far away is this? Not within living distance. Like, well, we could airlift somebody. I'm like, yeah, how are we going to call? There's no phone signal. It's not a joke. You can't contact the outside world from the lodge. You have to cross state lines. It is remote. And last year was wonderful. We had a wonderful guest of honor. We even gave Kage the luxury accommodation.
Oh, yes. I had a lamp. It didn't work, but I had a lamp.
You had plenty of outlets.
I had, oh God, there were 18 outlets. And there were at least 6 switches, none of which made the lamp turn on. I don't know what there were 2 switches right next to each other by the door. I don't know what they did. I just kept flicking them on and off.
Whoa, that was you?
Oh.
Your room controls the spotlight over the goddamn fire. We were trying to figure out what was going on all night. Oh. It's in the fucking view.
I was
We brought Kage Kage through his room. And this is a gentleman who is used to class. When he goes places, he travels first class.
I showed up in my business attire with my polished Italian leather shoes and my bowler.
He contacted us. He said, "What's my flight time?" We said, "Whatever you fucking booked it for, man."
Basement con.
He gets there. We showed him his room, and we said, "It's the best room in the place. It's got a bed. It's got its own bathroom. Please ignore the bare wires dangling above your bed. We're pretty sure they're not active. Just don't touch them."
You will die.
It is an experience. It really, truly is. We may have helped somebody steal a couch. On Saturday, guy showed up with a trailer. Walked in and said, "The owner sent me to pick up this couch." And we went, "Oh, okay, let's help you." Walked it out the door, put it in his truck. He waved, he drove off, and as we're waving as he's driving down the dirt road, we went, maybe we should have called someone. Because we may have just helped that man rob this place. You know, the thing is like this year, the owner had to bring up firewood. When he brought up firewood, I told him that story. And he looked at me, he's like, "I didn't even notice the couch was gone."
I would like to ask a question. Is anyone in this room a licensed electrician? Excuse me, just a moment.
Are you exposing our secrets?
Speaking of exposed, tell me, what do you make of this?
Basement time, motherfuckers!
I'll still never get over the fact that y'all had us watching A Cabin in the Woods on the first fucking night.
Yeah, we did basement con.
Find this place.
I just wanted to see, if I had to see it, you had to see it too.
Now here's the difference. Basement Con has the goal of being the world's worst furry convention.
Exactly. Who here knows the Basement Con's rules and regulations? Our terms of service. You all read them here at First Squared, right? Every one of you read them? Yeah, you lying sacks of shit. You know how I know that none of you read them? Because I also know that this man didn't read them. You know how I know he didn't read them? Because he didn't beat the shit out of me because I just copied Anthrocons and changed the word to First Squared. I did that like a decade ago, and he called me out on it like this last weekend. Not because he read it, but because Status Ferret uses a line in one of their new songs that's a direct quote from the First Squared rules and regulations. They thought, like, why are they talking about Anthrocon rules and regulations? And I giggled and ran away.
And I have to point out, you forgot to change Anthrocon to First Squared on one of the pages.
Well, good news, everyone. You are now allowed to bring drugs to the... Okay, I should not say it.
That seems to be a regular issue with you.
Yeah, I'm very aware.
Now, regarding Basement Con, I am extremely pleased and proud to have, unwittingly perhaps, given Basement Con their new motto.
We are sitting at the fire one night, telling ghost stories in the woods, as you do. Listening to the coyotes howl in the distance. There were coyotes in the distance. And somebody, by the way, you motherfuckers need to unplug. Because we're sitting around the fire in the acid of nowhere, and somebody hears coyotes howling in the distance and goes, "Oh, who turned on the coyote sound effects?" Completely serious. That's where they went. "Oh, wow, wonderful sound effects. We're in the middle of nowhere. Those are real coyotes." At which point, Kage, we're talking about something.
You're talking ghost stories.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous shit.
We're telling ghost stories around the fire.
Yeah.
And Dr. Buzzkill doesn't like that.
Dr. Oh my God.
So he stands up and says, "Do you know what comes after death? Nothing. You will die. Your name
there's 4 or 5 people sitting around the fire like, huh?
If you go to Basement God's Twitter right now, it literally just reads Basement God. You will die. Your name will be forgotten. It is inevitable.
So I want to shift gears a little bit here.
Absolutely.
Boozy,
Yes.
tell us the story about that one convention that invited you and then forgot to put you on the programming schedule.
That has not been 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so what? Where is it written?
I will not name the convention.
I will.
No.
I will say this. When cons ask us to come out and do a bunch of paneling, we didn't say, yeah, could you help us with room? Could you help us with reg? Or so I was gonna say, we'll get you a room, we'll get you reg. Hell, we'll even help you with travel. We'll fly you. And okay. And you know we're at one of those conventions because you look at the schedule and we're on fucking everything. So they're like, how many panels do you want to do? We're like, you're paying for this, so all of them. Anything you want me on. Here's my list. Pick what you want. Work me like a dog from morning to evening. Put your hand up my ass.
Okay, just carry on.
Anyways.
Yes.
Let him talk. Thank you. I still got it.
You still got
Thank you,
it.
Dad.
A con that has done this several times had me come out, contact me and say, hey, are you coming out this year? I said, oh, yeah, if you want me to, yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah. We'll set up the reg, we'll set up the room, we'll set up the travel and what dates. I'm like, well, thank you very much. So here's my list of paneling. Just pick however many you want. Put me on anything you want. And then the panels, the programming got released, and I looked at it, and I went, I'm not on anything. They put not a single fucking thing for me to do. I contacted somebody at the con, and I'm like, I don't think I should come. Like, why do we? I'm like, no, I'm not on the schedule. It doesn't make financial sense for you to have me come out. At this point, you're paying for me to take a vacation. That feels bad. The trade-off is we're there to work for you, not.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was a bunch of us got together and we shoved my ass on panels wherever I could fit for that.
Now, fortunately, that's the only time in furry history that's ever happened.
Oh no! Yep, the only goddamn time.
Yep, hasn't happened since.
Nobody would be that stupid twice.
It happens. When you get invited out to be a performer, it is a little different because you are expected to work, but on the other side of it, they're trying to make it as easy on you as possible. You do see us up on these stages a lot, so they do try to make sure that we have our breaks, that we have a meal.
That we have what we need.
Oh, yeah.
Except for the 1 year first grade, because it's now been 2 years and I can fucking tell this one.
Oh, shit, which one's that?
There's the opposite of not being on the schedule. There's being on the schedule for 13 straight hours in the same fucking room. And no status?
I would like to remind you of that. While I was the chairman at the time, I was lazy and didn't look at the programming schedule.
I came to this con, they brought me out, I said just put me on anything, and they scheduled me in secondary events for 13 hours of straight paneling. No bathroom breaks. No food breaks. I had a panel, I don't even know what it's supposed to be anymore. You know why? Because I had somebody bring me Culver's, looked at the audience and said, we are on hour 8. I haven't ate since yesterday. This panel is you watching me eat cheese curds in a minute.
I will point out, those of us who are experienced actually have on our little sheet that we send them, each of the panels, we like a little line that says, we like to have a 1 hour break after every 3.
That's a
Learn from the old people, boy.
I walked up to Alkali that evening, looked at him and said, you need to talk to your programming director. And he goes, oh, why, man? Did something happen? I'm like, did you look at the schedule for today? And he just, no, I pulled it out of my pocket, I handed it to him, and he looked at it, and this was the reaction. And then, because it was at the staff party that they have every year for staff, then he walked to the table, picked up a bottle of scotch, walked over, handed it to me, and went,
But he did it anyway, you know why? Because we're all friends in this.
Absolutely. Youmacon is a anime convention that happens in Detroit, Michigan. I am insanely lucky, and this is, by the way, thank you to all of you because of your support. They had heard about me, and they asked me to come out and MC their convention. So I get to go out and talk to anime people with my style of humor. So every year I get to bomb for 3 days straight, and it really grounds me. It really does. Oh boy.
I'm just going to interrupt briefly.
Of course.
I am the one that got him started at Youmacon.
Yes, you were.
Because their MC was a certain John St. John. He is the voice of Duke Nukem. You may remember that. And Mr. St. John and I were having a conversation, and I'd overheard that Mr. St. John loves tequila. And we were talking, and I saw this guy walk by. I said, excuse me, Mr. St. John, I'd like to introduce you to somebody. Mr. Smith, Mr. St. John, Mr. St. John, Mr. Smith. I understand that you like tequila, Mr. Smith. And then I walked away, and suddenly he's on staff.
It might have helped that immediately we both reached into opposite pockets and pulled out the exact same flask, the exact same booze. No, he was fun. John St. John, the voice of Duke Nukem, is actually a really interesting guy. He's very fun. He was their voice for years. He also ran their one adult programming, which genuinely, too much. Holy shit, too much. This panel was a room easily twice the size of this one, standing room only, packed to the brim.
Like this.
Like this. To get on the panel, you had to know the definitions to things off Urban Dictionary. None of them were okay. Most of them are horrific, and the fact that most of the people in the audience knew exactly what they were was a little disconcerting, but I digress. The games they played were, of course, the vibrator race. That is where you have a table with obstacles on it, lift up the table, turn on the vibrator, and it glides down the table into a shoebox, hereby known to as the box. They had the virginity contest. You know what that was? A cherry hidden in a whipped cream pie. The boyfriend had to hold it. Well, she found the cherry. This is the level, and I'm sitting there watching this. I'm laughing. It's very funny. It's very amusing, and I'm very uncomfortable. Because sitting next to me is a 13-year-old girl. Exactly, and I don't understand, and there's a lull, and they're like, hey, you having a good con? She goes, no. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. She goes, it's okay. My dad and mom are just so busy. I'm like, oh yeah, really? She goes, yeah. And it took me a minute to realize it was John St. John's daughter who had organized most of the panel because her generation, that's what they watch for fun. She was one of the funniest people I'd ever seen. I couldn't help but ask, like, this seems really, really mature for you. And she looked at me and went, my father is goddamn Duke Nukem. Okay. But Youmacon it's different. It is a very different world, and one of the differences, the guests. Now, Furry, if you don't know, Furry has some of the best, basically some of the best prices. To come to a con, Furry has managed year after year to keep those prices down, and one of the ways we do that over other style of conventions is guests. Furries are fans of themselves. We create our community, we create our art. Of course, we bring in a few people for fun, but we are fans fans of each other. Anime is fans of the producers and the creators and the actors of their animes. Furry has 7 guests at a con. This con had 130 guests. They took over the top 10 floors of their hotel.
To give you an idea of the quality of guests, hey Alkali,
Yes,
what was the per diem on the average Youmacon guest?
the per diem, which is the amount they're being paid just to show up, I'd say the average on them is about $7,000 to $10,000. There are lower guests, but they have, if you get 50 high-paying guests, and we've looked into this, you've had to deal with this, most per diems of anyone of any note, you're looking at $5,000 to $10,000.
And that's just to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's to walk in the door.
Yeah. They had the entirety of the cast of multicolored ninjas that fight giant robots.
All of them.
Power Rangers. They had all the Power Rangers there. They had people that voiced in Gundam and JoJo. They had voice actors from all over the place. And on Friday of the convention, the hotel reminded them that, oh, don't forget, the top 10 floors of the hotel go under renovation on Sunday. To which the convention responded, what do you mean you're reminding us? And they said, oh, right, we forgot. The top 10 floors where every guest was staying was going under renovation the last day of the con. What else happens the final day of any convention? People leave. 6 elevators, 80 floors. The fist fights broke out in the second hour. I was with security at the time, and their first question was, oh my God, all of our guests, they're leaving. Did the Power Rangers get into a fist fight? Because if they lose, we're sunk as a convention. This went on. Oh, go ahead.
I know, go on.
This went on for 6 hours. The exodus lasted for 6 hours. And the culmination of this was their green room. They have 100+ guests. They don't have a lounge. They have a double suite that they fill with a bar, and that is where the guests go to relax and to drink. And they have just been told, you have 1 hour to get out of here before the wrecking ball comes. They needed to get their bar out of the hotel in 1 hour under circumstances where we have not seen an elevator that wasn't packed for over 2. Security got in the elevator. Security wrote it down. Security stopped everyone from getting on the elevator until the 40th floor, where the head of security was waiting. And inside the elevator was the head of the green room, and they didn't like each other. And the head of security said, you may not commandeer my people and commandeer an elevator. I am getting on. And the gentleman who ran the green room, a 10-year bartender who got his start as the bouncer, belly bumped him across the hallway. And standing in that hallway was the Green Ranger who yelled, you got moves, dude!
I just want to point out, as an aside, since our legal counsel is here, Anthracon's contract with our venue specifically states
No
they're not
construction,
allowed to
no
do any
renovations.
construction without my permission.
That's awesome. See, that's awesome.
No construction, no renovations.
Without asking me first. Okay, you know how you say every rule is there because somebody made it necessary? Like that because of that, okay, the line in Anthropon Standards of Conduct at the top of page 3 that says, do not put your private parts in the electrical outlet. Every rule is made for a reason.
It could be there. You motherfuckers don't know. None of
Because you haven't read it!
Yep. Before we continue, normally this is where I would say that we've got a special story for you if we hit a certain amount of charity, but you guys opened a wall for us. This is the Sunday of a con. I'm kind of blown away by this, so
And you're losing your voice.
I'm really losing my voice. We're going to pass the hat around. This is just a reminder. This is for the Hawes Humane Society. Hawes. I can't say that right now.
Hawes.
This is. Why don't you do the spiel? I'm dying over here.
This is for Hawes, which stands for wild animals. That's it. Yes, this is for Hawes. You've seen them out there. If you know nothing else about Hawes, you saw that little gray kitten. That's all you need to know. Would you be kind enough and take this pass around for us? Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much. Seriously.
That little gray kitten is a demon that is there to control the human mind.
Well, sometimes we get little demons at conventions. Like, okay.
Yes, I know. As soon as I started inviting this guy,
No shit.
he brought his along.
Just a friendly reminder. You need a service animal? Hell yeah, I am so glad that we live in a society that allows you to do that. On the other side of that coin, if your service animal is a 7-foot-long iguana that could easily be mistaken for a dragon, don't leave it in your room before house cleaning comes around. I was woken up from the scream. I wasn't on the same floor.
I'm also just going to say, before I pass it off to legal counsel, if you're the kind of person that is going to dress up your mangy piece of shit hound in a vest and call it a service animal just so you can bring it to a con, I will fuck you up, okay? Give me some of this.
The anger from this is not misplaced. The anger from this comes from a Thursday of Anthrocon, where the only message I got from this man in a 3-day span was, somebody shit in dealer's den. I know it's a fake service dog, but I'm praying I'm right.
Boozy,
Yes.
tell us a horror story. You've been in the business a while.
Thank you.
So there I was at Anthrocon.
Go ahead. Woo! Yay.
And for those who don't know, I do serve as volunteer legal counsel on site for Anthrocon.
Only $79 an hour for his volunteer service. Sorry, go on.
So, here is what is a service animal according to the Americans with Disabilities Act. A dog, a miniature horse.
Don't. Just don't. Fucking don't.
Only 2 animals that federally qualify as service animals. Everything else, while it may qualify under state law, under their similar act, is not a service animal, it is a support animal. A support animal is not the same as a service animal. But even if it is a service animal, there are limits. I would tell generally, you don't have to let a service animal do anything that you wouldn't let, say, a child do. If you would throw a child out for biting an attendee, you can tell the owner of a service animal, your animal must leave. If you would ask the parents to remove their child if they shit on the floor, I hope you would. You can tell the owner of a service animal, your animal must leave. One year at Anthrocon, I am there, I'm walking across the bridge, and there's somebody with their alleged service dog. And somebody with what appeared from how they reacted to the situation to be an actual trained service animal walked by, and the alleged service dog lunged at the other dog that immediately backed down. And that's why I'm saying that one appeared to, because when they train them, one of the things they train them to do is don't lunge at other animals, and if you are lunged at, back away, don't fight. And the person who owned that animal was talking to security and was being asked to go and was yelling, "You can't do that, you can't do that, this is my service animal," and I'm right there, and I stepped in and I looked at the security member and I said, "Excuse me, may I?" And I said, "Ma'am, you are more than welcome to stay here at Anthrocon." However, we are not required to keep a service animal in this facility if it is outside of your control. That animal lunged at another animal. It is obviously not under your control. You are welcome here. The dog is not. That kind of defused the situation immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I'm walking over towards Dealer's Den, and that's when I saw the poop. With another crowd around it, giant pile. Remember how I said a miniature horse can be a service animal? And I'm looking there with security. We're staring at it. Just staring at it like this. And one of the security guards leans over and looks at me and says, so we asked the person to leave. I said, did they? Yeah. Do you think we need to tell Uncle Kage? No. Just clean it up. We don't need to tell him.
We never hear what happens at the cons till days after the con.
Okay, and this bothers me. It's not days, it's years.
Sometimes.
Oh, yes, okay, I'll be sitting talking with some security people, and we're drinking, oh, yes, and they say, you remember that meth addict that came into Anthrocon naked and started urinating on people? What? When the fuck did that happen? No, that was 2016. Why didn't you tell me? We took care of it. I say, I want to know when these things happen. They look me in the eye and they say, no, you don't.
Part of the role of a good staff is to insulate the con chair.
Okay, insulate.
Sometimes that means protecting the con chair from themselves. So that somebody doesn't wake up one night to find a man in a lab coat standing outside their bedroom window with a knife.
That has never happened in a provable fashion.
I don't know. There was a top-out incident, and when I told you maybe don't ban the gentleman, it looked like I kicked your puppy.
Can I tell you a story?
Yes.
Yes.
This is why this man is better than me.
No, not even.
Shut up! Shut up! I'll tell a story. People are always asking us to sign things. That's part of the job. Could you autograph this? Could you sign this? This young fellow came up to me with a Sharpie and a top hat and said, could you sign this for me? Okay, so right. Okay. Uncle Kage. He grabbed it back and said, ha ha, that's Alkali's hat. I'm like, and he's just sitting there laughing. I'm like, excuse me. Great. Send it to security. Find him. I want him. An hour later, I get a note from security. Your package has been delivered. Now you need to, actually, some folk here might have been in that room. Now they look around. You need to picture Anthrocon Con Ops, me walking through and saying, everybody out. I want one security person as a witness, everybody else out, right now. You, come here. And I proceeded to chew him a new asshole, literally.
Does that mean what you think it means?
Yes, it does.
Oh, God.
I still have pieces of his gluteus maximus in my teeth. I grabbed the hat, and I said, don't you move. And I went by the security guy, I said, don't let anybody in. And I went and I found Alkali. I showed him the hat. And I said, tell me what you want me to do. And he looked at the hat. He looked more. This is Alkali's hat, for Christ's sake. He looked at it and he said, kid was probably drunk. I've been drunk. Just let him go. And I said,
This is real. That's exact.
fine. You can thank your lucky fucking stars that Alkali is a better man than me. Get out. And that's how the incident ended.
Wow.
I'm feeling that need to yes.
Heard the bottle of wine. There's still some left.
As you may expect, in our roles, we are around staff on a fairly frequent basis. And sometimes, being around staff or being on staff or just being privy to things, we overhear things. Things that we may not know the complete story on, but it paints a wonderful mental picture.
Oh, yeah.
Alkali, what's something like that you've heard?
I think my all-time favorite wasn't from a staff member.
Oh.
It was not from me. My favorite thing I've overheard
Radio
was
club?
at, not Anthro, Ohio. An Ohio convention. They're very well known for having made the entire convention in 3 months.
For reality.
Thank you, Furriality. Furriality was part of an anime con. The Furry Trek became so big that they got their own hotel same weekend and had their convention. And at the other hotel, the Anime Con, was our main events. I had to do Who's Line by getting on a bus, going to the Anime Con, and doing Who's Line over there. And when I was done, I went outside. And as I was standing there, these two anime kids who see me, top hat, black coat. I don't look like the stereotypical fur. I don't have the tail. I don't have the ears. I look like I'm from fucking Sailor Moon. So they didn't think anything about the following line. Man, I'm telling you, if I was as rich as those fucking furries, I could afford a nice suit too. This is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I look like Sailor Moon. I can engage. And I go over there like, oh man, I know exactly what you're talking about. How do you think they get all that money? And one of them goes, internet.
Okay.
Not wrong.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, tell me that's not the greatest stereotype of furs you've ever heard. Oh, furs. They're a bunch of queers. They dress up in costumes. They do things. They're all rich. You know what? I'm in.
Sam,
Sir,
what's the best thing you've overheard?
I've overheard a lot. The thing is, I'm in a different position because for some reason when I show up, people shut up. And so I'll walk in and it's like there's silence as I walk by. Okay. It is stressful to be in the chairman's position. It's not a question of that I'm trying to do too much, it's that I am the ultimate responsibility. If shit goes down, it's my head on the chopping block. If one of my staff members does something, it's not the staff member's fault, it's my fault. That's how this game works. I was, I guess, looking a little stressed one year. Our guest of honor that year was Lee Tokar, voice actor for My Little Pony, an absolute peach of a man. Lee came up to me, and he actually took my sleeve. He said, "You look like a man who needs a drink." I said, yeah, I need a drink. Yeah, we'll get it. He said, no. He said, no. You need a break. Let's go across the street. I'll buy you a drink. You need to relax. Now, this is our guest of honor. This guy's fantastic. I love him. So I let him drag me across the street, and I'm sitting there doing this. And he's you know, there. Okay, all right. Gonna be good. Take some deep breaths, all right? What are you drinking? I said Riesling. He brought me a wonderful bottle of Riesling, and he poured it for me. And I took the glass. I looked at him very, very, gratefully. I raised the glass, and I brought it to my lips. That's when I heard the siren. I looked up, and here comes a ladder truck and 2 rescue units pulling up in front of the hotel, and they start pulling hoses out.
Oh my God.
I just looked at Lee and put it down and ran back across the street. So yeah, I overheard that.
Overheard
Yeah.
that.
My personal
Boozy
favorite,
Badgers.
I was in con ops talking to somebody, and somebody walked in, a member of security walked in, and I heard this one snippet. There was an unreasonable amount of human feces in that bathtub. And it's made me stop. Because an unreasonable amount of human feces in a bathtub implies there is a reasonable amount to find in a bathtub. And you know, years ago, if you'd asked me, I would have said the reasonable amount is none. But after I heard that, I thought, you know what? No, I've been to enough of these now. There probably is what we would call a de minimis level of shit to find in the bathtub.
Speaking of bathtubs, Kage.
Okay, this is
Go to
also
bathtub story.
violating the 2-year rule, but it's my con, so what the hell? I am not going to name the hotel. I got 17 of them. You can figure it out, okay? I got a phone call from Hotel A. From their convention services manager saying, we have had a flood. Somebody filled the bathtub with kitty litter and caused it to overflow. And I was very upset by this. Then the next day, I got another call from the same person saying, okay, we have looked into it. It turned out the initial report was inaccurate. It was a broken pipe. It's nobody's fault. It's a plumbing issue. Don't worry about it. We're not going to hold you accountable. Oh, good. Thank you so much. I am very relieved. I waited until the Wednesday after the convention, and I called. I said, hi, it's Sam. Call myself Sam. I just wanted to talk about that situation with the bathtub and the broken pipe. I would just like to know, why was the first report that the bathtub had been filled with kitty litter? Further, I want to know who made that report. I want the person's name, and I'd like to have it now. We came to an agreement on the phone. Next year, that individual will be on vacation in Florida. I'll pay for it. We are sending that individual on a vacation in Florida, where they fucking belong, if you ask me. Because, yeah, why was the very first report that the bathtub was filled with kitty litter? The conversation actually lasted the better part of an hour as the convention services manager kept trying to deflect, and I kept coming back to, okay, but I want to ask, why was that report made, and what was the name of the person who made it? This conversation will not end until I have that information. And if you are unwilling to give me that information, remember who you're talking to.
To finish it off, I just want to say this, because we come up when we talk about our horror stories, a lot of these involve us, things that happen to us, but that doesn't change the fact that I think I can speak for all three of us when I say we genuinely love this.
Yes, whatever.
Please, every year, every single year after Anthrocon, I hear from this gentleman, and he says, I'm going to resign. I just can't do this anymore. Less than a month later, so for Anthrocon next year, I was thinking, here's how we can improve it.
Here's the problem. Before I can step down, I need to find a person with the perfect combination of two qualities. I need to find somebody who is smart enough to do the job and stupid enough to take it. Neither one of these two fit the bill for various reasons. I might have one. I'm working on it. I might have one.
Oh, this is a
But I
convention war story.
I don't want to say anything because if he gets tipped off, he'll like flee to Mexico or something.
Run, Ronnie! Run!
Damn it! You heard nothing. Clear your minds. Reset everything. Nothing happened.
So to finish it off, I want to tell this one because this to me was just a magical moment. There was an incident, we all know about this is not new news, at MCFC. MCFC, right as their opening ceremony started, some schmuck decided they wanted to ruin the con for over 1,000 people. And for that day, for a little bit that day, they got exactly what they wanted. The hotel was evacuated, opening ceremonies never happened. Furries went outside, they banded together, and they made their own fun, which is what furries do, and I love that. We all watched this happen. We were all there. We went out to our restaurant, we sat down, had a meal, we finally got let back into the hotel, and we are drained. We just watched something we love get destroyed by a single person with a gripe. But it's still furry. And we knew that it would be okay, and we knew the day would repair itself, and we knew that everything would be fine, and myself and Boozy said, all right, let's get to our panel, what do we got? And Boozy loses that look of defeat and failure in their eyes, and childlike wonderment spreads over it as they giddily look at me and say, Alkali, the only panel we have to do right now is convention war stories. Don't forget the 2-year time limit, and walked away.
Literally right after we got back in the hotel. It is 4 o'clock and we have convention war stories.
It is a wonderful thing that you allow us to do. Thank you for letting us perform. Thank you for being here. And as always, the way I like to end this, these stories only happen because we've been on staff for so long. Go out there, volunteer for the convention, sit at a door, guard the door, get onto staff, get onto the board. It is a life experience that not only looks great on a resume, but it will give you stories till the day you die. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Convention War Stories. Give it up for the Boozy Badger! Give it up for Uncle Kage!
And give it up for Alkali Bismuth. Without whose efforts, I think that I can state with absolute authority the overall charity take of furry fandom would probably be less than half what it is today without this man's efforts.
Well, I believe in 30 minutes is closing ceremonies and main events. Remember, if you haven't given any charity dollars, this is the last chance to make Alkali cry.
Oh,
Hail to the chief! Hail to the chief!
you all know the story of Charon, the boatman on the river Styx? Yes, in order to be spared his eternal damnation, he just has to have somebody else take the oar from him.
You know what? When I'm done with the furry fandom, I'm gonna put a fursuit on my shoulder, walk inland, and the first time somebody says, "What's that on your shoulder?" That's where I'm gonna say.